What's going on, everybody? It's K4K Crypto here. This video is going to be a bit different than my normal stuff. It's going to be for people who they want to understand more about crypto, even though they're kind of standoffish about it. Maybe you've heard about it and you heard about this Bitcoin thing, and it's just too hard to understand, and it's just where's the value? You can't spend it anywhere. How does it have whatever value it does? People are just crazy. They're gambling or something like that. If you have any of those beliefs, hopefully I can help shed some light on that perspective you have, because it is a valid perspective to have whenever you see some of these crazy returns you see people are having and how volatile it is, and that scares a lot of people. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about currencies in general. We've had currencies and different types of money throughout the last several millennia. We can go back to, I just chose the Roman Empire because it's almost 2,000 years ago. What happened to the Roman Empire's currency? Why don't we still use their coinage today? Why didn't it stick around? Valid question. So Rome kind of crushed it back in the day. They were super wealthy. They conquered a lot of the world. But they had all of these administrative, military costs that kept adding up. And they had to come up with creative ways to pay for things. Now, what is this creative thing they thought of? Well, they were debasing the currency so that the government could pay for things. Now, what's debasing a currency mean? Oh, 1 second. I'm too big today. I did like 30 push-ups, so I can understand why I'm so large. All right, so what did they do when they were debasing their currency? They had coinage that was basically made of silver. Originally, it was 100% silver per coin. So you're like, oh, sweet. This amount of coin is this much silver. Well, whenever they ran out of people to conquer and steal their silver and then turn it into their coins, and same with gold and stuff, they were like, we don't have much left here to create. So if we want to buy or spend on more military, we can't just go conquer some people and get more of it. So what did they do? They started to put less of silver in the coin and more bronze. And they started to reduce, the value that was actually in these coins that they had. And so what they ended up having to do was it led to hyperinflation, where there was just more and more of these coins, but they were each worth less value because there was less of the, rare material in them. And there was just way more of these coins, and everyone was expected to believe they had the same value as the original coins that were 100% pure. And so this led eventually to heavy taxes and a financial crisis. Because once they realized that, these coins, even if they make more of them, they're not really worth anything. They were like, well, guess we'll have to tax the citizenry even more. And then you see rising taxes, and nobody wants to trade because nobody trusts the money anymore. And basically trade shuts down. It gets even more inefficient in the economy, and people are basically back to bartering. They're like, yo, I want food, so I'll give you some of the stuff I created for that. Because they're like, I don't care about your bronze coin you're giving me. There's 10 million of these things out in the street. No one cares about them anymore. So the Romans eventually, basically, it was just the size of a little nickel or whatever. It was pure silver. And basically it made it difficult for the people in power to finance war and create bigger palaces and places to live, projects they wanted to work on. So how could it be paid for? They just started debasing it. So this is very similar to what happens nowadays, except with paper dollars. They a central bank known as the Federal Reserve, which isn't a government entity, even though it has the word federal. There's also no reserve. It's just a database where they decide how much new digital dollars go into the economy. And it's the same exact thing as creating more coins, but with no purity. You just go, all right, we have the ability to create these coins. Boom, push them out. And now everybody who had to work for their coins, now like their coins are less valuable because they're a smaller percentage of the total money supply. So like if you had one of the 100 denarii pure coins, all right, you could basically purchase 1% of anything that money could buy at the time, of all like the different services you can get. And so that was pretty valuable. But once the government starts making all these extra coins that are less pure but are supposedly supposed to be the same equivalent value, you get diluted by however much they make. If they make 1,000 more, well, now you own less than, instead of 1%, you get a tenth of that. So you have a tenth of a percent. So you can buy 10x less stuff. And they can just, nowadays, they pump this stuff out like by the trillions. So imagine how much the value of your dollar purchasing power has gone down by them creating trillions. When's the last time you made $1 trillion? Never. So it's never going to happen. So you're going to be diluted by a force that you have no control over. You don't get to vote the Federal Reserve guys in who have control over basically the creation of new money. Isn't that odd that we don't really have a choice in the money we use? Like, why can't we go and use some other coin? Like, you don't have to use dollars to purchase things, but you do have to like pay your taxes in dollars and other things. So you're kind of like coerced into using this system. And so whenever that's the thing that's being debased, it's really bad to hold your wealth in something that is dollars. So if you're saving in dollars in your bank account or something like that, that's just depreciating like mad every year. If you look over the past like 100 years, the dollar has lost like 93% of its purchasing power. So basically your grandma, perhaps if she's still alive, experienced a minus 95% in purchasing power from her savings. I doubt she made like, how much would she have to make? But basically, there's no way she gained enough interest or yield on those dollars by saving it in a bank account than how much she's lost in value. And how fair is that? It's basically a hidden tax on all of the citizenry. That's what inflation is. It's a hidden tax. It's kind of like a hidden theft because, you're like, well, I'm not actually paying it, but you're paying higher prices for everything. And so I'm going to tie this into crypto and why I think it's a better place to store your wealth over time, as opposed to these fiat currencies that can be debased even more easily than back in the day. Because at least they had to smelt. At least they had to smelt and use some metal to create more coins out into the world. Nowadays, it's literally a database. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 zeros, add, purchases stuff, goes into the economy. Now there's trillions added to the economy. Did you get any of that inflation? Did you get a share of that? Probably not. Probably what you're experiencing instead is housing prices going up, food prices going up, gas prices going up. It's because the dollar is less rare, or more. Yeah, less rare. So everything just goes up in value, not just because, or in cost, not because there's way more demand, but because it's if you think about it this way, it's more money in the world chasing the same amount of stuff. So the amount of houses barely went up, but the amount of dollars went way up. So people are like, well, this house, there's so much of these dollars, but there's not very many more houses that were created, so my house better go up in value, otherwise people could be buying houses for, you know how houses used to be like a third of the cost they are now, like even 20, 30 years ago? Well, you could have bought way more houses with all these inflated dollars that people are making now or getting now if prices of houses stayed the same. But people are smart and they don't want to give up their real resources for super, super cheap dollars that can be created out of nothing. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. I really appreciate you guys helping me out with the channel, liking and commenting, subscribing. This is how we make impact in the world. We're not going to make impact if people don't hear our message. So spreading good information when you find it helps everyone and it helps yourself. So feel free to check out these videos I have recommended here. And thank you again for supporting the channel.